So welcome to Zoom Basics and Troubleshooting. We're going to cover a few basic topics around Zoom webinars and Zoom meetings. We're going to talk about the different roles you have in either. We'll talk about which one to use when, and then we'll go through some troubleshooting of your audio, video, and microphone. Let's get started. So it's likely you've been on either a meeting or a webinar on Zoom many times since the pandemic started. There are a few key differences I wanted to cover. So in a meeting, it does allow you full interaction and collaboration. That means that you're all on screen. You all have the ability to share and chat with each other as long as the host has enabled it. One of the different features in a Zoom meeting are the breakout rooms, which means you can divide your larger groups into as many as 100 separate sessions. With Zoom webinars, there's sort of a wall between the panelists and host and our attendees. So the attendees are in listen and view only mode. The content sharing is only enabled by the host and any invited panelists. One of the other great extra features with Zoom webinars is a PayPal integration with registration if you'd like to use that for any of your events. So a little bit about the different roles you might have if you are invited to a meeting or a webinar. So what you're viewing right here is what a Zoom meeting attendee sees. Again, you all have full interaction. Everyone can turn on their cameras and interact amongst each other as long as the host has enabled it. A Zoom webinar attendee sees this, so you have a limited function. You can chat, raise your hand, or use the Q&A box. Participants in a webinar or an attendee can also be unmuted, but that's only if the host decides. The best way that an attendee will interact with the panelists or hosts is through the Q&A box or the chat box, where you can send private messages to all of these speakers and hosts. Here is a webinar panelist, which is an invited speaker view. As you can see, you have a full range of options. As long as your permissions are enabled, you can view the question and answer, you can launch polls, you can share screen, you can share links, you can chat with everyone. So you're essentially getting the full effect and tools within the Zoom webinars. So the question of which one should I use and when? Zoom meetings are best utilized for smaller groups, being that everyone is on screen. It is better for about 10 to 15 people. It avoids clutter and confusion and any audio issues. Team meetings, one-on-ones. If you are going to do a larger group, you can always use those breakout rooms. They're a great way to break out into smaller groups, brainstorm, and come back and share the results. Zoom webinars are great for sharing information to a large amount of people. So educational trainings, virtual events and conferences, town halls. You'll see here there's a couple other extra options. Again, there is that wall between the panelists and the attendees, so keep that in mind if you plan to use a Zoom webinar. Now let's get into a couple troubleshooting. So the primary issues you come across when joining a Zoom call, a Zoom webinar or meeting is connecting your microphone, connecting your camera, and making sure you can hear people. So let's start with microphone and speaker troubleshooting. So troubleshooting your audio. If you scroll down to the bottom, your control panel, and hit the up arrow, you'll see a host of options. You can go into your audio settings, you can test your speaker. You can switch to your phone if you're having any issues with a headset or earbuds. It'll pull up some toll-free numbers for you to use. It'll also show you that you are connected to computer audio. Another way to check or change your input and output for your speaker and microphone is just see where the check is under select a microphone and select a speaker. So at this moment, what I'm doing is plugging in a headset into my USB port. I have a Sennheiser headset. I'm going to give it a moment, and you'll see it's come up as an option. You'll need to select it as your microphone and again as your speaker, so you can hear and speak through the same headset. Now we do have another tutorial video by Gunnar Branson who talks a bit about different microphone options, and you can find that link here. Next, let's talk about how to troubleshoot your camera, webcam, and video settings. Shooting your video is just as simple as troubleshooting your microphone. Typically, most Zoom applications will automatically connect with the integrated webcam on your Mac or PC, or if you're using a device, it'll just integrate with that. You'll see here, it is already self-selected to integrated webcam. We'll pop it on for one moment. And there I am. We'll shut it off. The way you change your camera is the same as how you change your microphone settings. You open up the settings, you select whichever camera you'd like to use. Now, ManyCam is a third-party application. That is a software that allows you to add in backgrounds or filters. We'll touch a bit about these other integrations in Zoom in another video. But simply you just select what you'd like to use. You'll see I'm using an integrated webcam. If you have an additional webcam that's plugged in through a USB port, that should appear here as well. Another great thing are these video settings. So you can again select your camera here, or you can enable HD, touch up my appearance. I typically adjust for low light, just use it automatically. You have a whole host of options on how to touch up your appearance. And there you have it. Those are just a couple of the Zoom basics.